Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco, and this is your daily FaB gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the ongoing ProQuest Season 5 and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week. There are even more benefits coming down the pipeline. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. I'd be lying to you if I said I knew anything about what Arakni does besides being bad Uzuri. Arakni does not have Uzuri's surprise factor. Arakni does not have Uzuri's specialization. The only thing I do know about Arakni is that winning lists have been of a fatigue style. That's the only thing I know about this hero. Contracts are going to manipulate the top of my deck. But even if Arakni leaves a card on the top of my deck with their effect, that doesn't tell me if it's completing the contract or if it is a card that Arakni thinks I want. Arakni's contract may be to banish attack actions, but they leave a Blood Rush Bellow on top of my deck. I can't block around anticipating whether I want the card or not, because outside of Blood Rush and Cast Bones, I kind of don't care about the top of my deck. We do win the die roll. We are going to choose to go second so that we can block on Arakni's first turn. For the most part, we are just fat stacking. We are going to board in most, if not all, of the cards in our deck. I believe Humble is the exception, just based on it not blocking very well, Arakni not really caring about their hero power, and it not working well with Blood Rush Bellow. So even though it is a card in our deck to combat fatigue, we are kind of better off without it in a lot of situations. Outside of Arakni potentially being a fatigue hero, we have to worry about Assassin's good cards, those being Leave No Witnesses and Codex of Frailty. Arakni also has access to Frailty Trap and Inertia Trap, so if they are playing a fatigue style of deck, we may anticipate Arakni having those as well. Inertia Trap in particular is not something we can really play around. Our might tokens will give our attacks higher power than their base. The only consideration, if you think your Arakni is sitting on an Inertia Trap and you have a Blood Rush Bellow in hand or arsenal, you might want to just play it because you won't get the opportunity to do so if it goes to the bottom of your deck. This game will go long, especially if Arakni is fatiguing you, so your Blood Rush Bellow or Cast Bones going to the bottom of your deck isn't the worst thing in the world. You are very likely to see it again, but if you are deciding between trying to push some damage now or maybe waiting a turn might punish you if the Arakni does give you Inertia. We might want to cut pulping in this matchup going into the future. If Arakni is playing this fatigue style with a lot of defense reactions, then they are likely to have one in arsenal to stuff your pulping, so that is something to consider as well. At the same time, Pulping as a dominated finisher can be very strong if your game goes late and the Arakni runs themselves out of D-reacts. Just something to consider. I can't really speak to what Arakni is trying to do because I'm not incredibly familiar with this deck, but I think they are fatiguing us. So they are looking to block pretty aggressively. They are looking to banish the top of our deck with awkward contracts. We can attempt to play around Black Tech Whisperers and a big double finisher, double contract line, but we're going to take that as it comes. For now, we will just submit deck and really do our best with not a ton of information. Really good hand for going second. We have our Clash of Agility to hopefully give us agility. We have an Agile Windup to give us agility if the Clash fails. We are going to block the Spider's Bite with Clash. We want to make sure that we are getting potential value. We give Arakni value instead by revealing a Cast Bones. So a bit of an inauspicious start for us this game. At the same time, we can discard this Agile Windup very quickly. Arakni put Cast Bones to the bottom of our deck, so no guarantee that we're going to get to discard this Windup, make an agility, and then do an attack, play Cast Bones. Instead, we are just going to take advantage of the fact that we draw at the end of Arakni's turn. We're going to block for 6 and just cover up this Plunder the Poor. We get punished by a Spreading Plague that gives us 2 Bloodrot Pox tokens. I don't know if we should have played around that. I think we absolutely should have blocked with at least 1 card. Very likely our Wrecker Romp, keep our Pack Hunt, and still discard this Agile Windup. But I don't know really if that's something that I should be anticipating. We know that Arakni is on a 66 card deck. Very likely that they just got lucky with the Spreading Plague there. I do think covering up that Plunder the Poor is correct, despite the potential for Spreading Plague. We have an agility. Outside of that, our hand is kind of okay. I think the line here is open with Bare Fangs and Pitch Send Packing. At the same time, it doesn't really do anything for us. Well, I suppose we're hoping to draw a blue or a yellow so that we get to swing big as well. At the very least, we could E-Strike. So I think Bare Fangs here would be my line. Instead, E-Strike, draw a card, totally fine as well. We do get to... we would have gotten to Send Packing. We no longer get to do so. So Bare Fangs, pitching the blue, is a very reasonable line as well. Bare Fangs coming in for 8 here, creating a Might token and giving us the Send Packing Arsenal is just solid. Getting 2 Fate Foreseens out of Arakni, so not pushing any damage, but getting those D-reacts early is fine, and Send Packing an Arsenal is good too. We're not interested in pitching this to pay for Blood Rot. Looking at a decent hand of cards here. Annihilate the Armed needs to hit attack actions. We're expecting that Arakni will hit one very easily. They do sink the top part of the deck. So we can decide if we want to block this attack or not. Arakni does not have an arsenal, so playing the Send Packing is not at the top of my list of priorities. What we could do instead is take 5 damage, discard this Agile Windup to make agility. On our turn, we could attack with Smash Instinct for 6 with Go Again, then play Cast Bones. Alternatively, we can block Annihilate the Armed with Smash Instinct, take 2 points of damage, then we attack with Mandible Claw, pitching our Agile Windup. We discard Mighty Windup to make 2 Mights, giving the claw go again, and then we play Cast Bones, and we are extremely likely to generate agility based on having 2 existing Might tokens already. I don't know that we need to cover up the other 2 damage with Scab Skins. This is potentially taking away our ability to block a Leave No Witnesses or a Command and Conquer later in the game. I think taking 2 there and losing the top card of our deck would have been fine if it meant keeping armor. We get some blocks out of Arakni. We are going to get to make our 2 Mights and follow up with a Cast Bones, which does in fact hit, also revealing a Bloodrush Bellow, which we very luckily draw, considering that Arakni could have a contract and has Mask of Perdition. So a yellow and a blue on top of our deck means that we are probably just not blocking. We are going to have Tunic, we have 5 cards. We could lose either of the top cards of our deck and still have a pretty solid Blood Rush turn. Do in fact see an Annihilate the Armed. As I said, not blocking here. We're going to let Arakni banish the top 2 cards of our deck and hope that we can draw well outside of it. In case we do keep this Enlightened Strike and then draw more reds, we do have the E-Strike as a way to draw a card with our Go Again from Agility, hopefully find something that fixes the turn. And what we draw instead, okay, what can we do with this hand? We do have send packing to hit Arakni's Arsenal, which is probably what we're going to do. What I think the line here is to pitch this beast within to play send packing, then we pitch Massacre and use our Tunic to attack with Claw, and Arsenal this E-Strike. Definitely not the best turn we could have had. Drawing a red and a yellow instead of a blue and a yellow really hurts. The Sigil of Solace coming out of Arakni's Arsenal hurts too. Send packing still just hitting for 15 with Go Again though. I mean, that is a solid way to start a turn, despite not doing anything on hit. Then coming in with a Mandible Claw for 5, we're going to Arsenal this E-Strike as a way to potentially convert a crummy hand to multiple chain links. Potentially very good too if Arakni is just going to Arsenal this card. Instead playing Sack the Shifty. This is a 0 for 4, looking to hit cards with Go Again. Arakni does leave the top card. Very few cards in our deck have Go Again. The only one that does, I believe, is Bloodrush Bellow. None of our cards can get Go Again, but none of them have it naturally. So this could be a Blood Rush on top of the deck, it could be a Cast Bones, it could just be a Swing Big that Arakni doesn't want us to have. So the question is, are we going to block this? The answer is probably not, considering what we would need to block it with. That being either a Command and Conquer or a Blood Rush Bellow. I believe we are going to pitch this Blood Rush as opposed to playing it. Very risky Blood Rush here, without a single blue or even a yellow in our hand to float resources. Our Tunic is not up. So what we'll likely do is just take 4 from this attack. Bottom Command and Conquer with E-Strike to give it Go Again, or do this. This is fine. It does hit a Cast Bone, so no silver for Arakni, but it does hit an important card. What we'll do here, E-Strike for 8 and just take the Intellect penalty. I don't know that I love that. I see why I'm doing it. We're going to Arsenal a Wild Ride and hope to draw into some gas to pay for this Blood Rush and then come in with a 3-chain Blood Rush, starting with Wild Ride, which should hopefully have Go again. But what I might have wanted to do instead is E-Strike for 6 Go again, bottoming this Wild Ride, and then just playing Bare Fangs by pitching Blood Rush Bellow. I don't know that we're really best served by taking the intellect penalty here. We draw into a great hand to play out this Blood Rush Bellow, especially considering that Arakni was only on 2 cards, but you see, now we're just in a weird spot where we need to protect our Blood Rush, but if we do so, then we kind of hurt our chances at having a... we want to protect our Wild Ride, but if we do so, we hurt our chances at having a good turn. So what we can do here is block with Wild Ride and Scab Skins, and then just play a 3-card Blood Rush, but that doesn't seem very good. What we will want to do is block with both of our Riled Ups, and then just play Pack Hunt. Attack for 6. I mean, it isn't very good, and here we are getting punished for taking the intellect penalty and trying to play out this Blood Rush hand. If we had played the Bare Fangs line instead, E-Strike for 6 Go, again, Bare Fangs, we don't have an arsenal, and Leave No Witnesses has no text. We also push more damage, and we are sifting through our deck faster, so big value loss there. So overall, not a great line. We have an Eradicate. Arakni does leave the card on top of the deck, but again, that doesn't tell us anything. Arakni needs to hit yellows. We have yellows in our deck. We also have at least one. We have 1 Blood Rush left that isn't at the bottom of our deck, so this Eradicate can be anything. The real question is, what do we want to do with our hand? We have a Wild Ride in Arsenal, we have a Wild Ride in hand, we have an Agile windup, we are going to have a Tunic. So what we could do is just take 4 here, discard Agile windup to make the agility, then lead with Runner. Lead with Runner, float a resource, pitch Wild Ride to play Wild Ride, discard the top of our deck, then use Tunic to claw is probably what I'm looking to do here. Sending a lot of damage at Arakni's face, banking a Quicken token for the next turn, and we've got plenty of cards left in deck and plenty of life. I don't care about this. Mask of Perdition just getting a 5th card, and there's really no difference between 4 and 5 at this point. Losing out on some good cards, a Massacre, a Wild Ride, but not losing our remaining Blood Rush Bellow, or I believe we have 2 Cast Bones left, so that is nice. Opening up with the Runner, the 6 with Go again, and we refresh our agility, so setting up for a great next turn. We are going to play out this Wild Ride, and we can follow up with Mandible Claw, so a nice 4-card 15 there. 16 even with the Might. Just a good, solid bit of value. Drawing into a very interesting hand here. Slay the Scholar gives Arakni the opportunity to leave the card on top of our deck. This is 0 for 4. The consideration here, what I'm really strongly thinking about, is Black Tech Whisperers. If Arakni's line here is Black Tech Whisperers Codex or Black Tech Whisperers Leave No Witnesses, that's potentially bad for us. If Arakni's line is Black Tech Whisperers Cut to the Chase, then our blocks get really interesting. So what I want to do is block with Flashback. Either I want to block with Fleshbag and something else, cover the 4 damage, and take away Arakni's card in hand. So we are either letting them cut to the chase from Arsenal, which, okay, will take 3 damage, or we are denying them the opportunity to Black Tech Codex. So if we do block with Scab Skins, what do we also want to block with? Do we block with our Beast Within, which would let us Runner by pitching Blood Rush and then arsenaling a Pulping? Do we block with our Runner and Fleshbag and then play Blood Rush by pitching Pulping, discarding our Beast Within and hoping to put a decent turn together? Or do we block with Fleshbag and Bonebreaker to cover the 4, and on our turn we play Blood Rush by pitching Runner and hoping to discard Beast Within? I think taking the aggressive line is fine, and that means we block with Fleshbag and Bonebreaker in order to get the 4-card Blood Rush and just hope to get lucky. Because at the same time, if we kept our Beast Within and discarded a Pulping, we would have 2 resources. Spreading Plague here, that's fine. We'll get more Blood Rot. We do prevent Arakni from having a more impactful turn. And we draw pretty well. We are going to get to Runner here, refreshing our agility, pushing 9 damage, and we can Mandible Claw on top of this. Kind of a clunky situation. I don't know if I necessarily agree with what I did there. I think keeping the Runner and blocking with the Bonebreaker was the better line. Taking 4 damage from the Spreading Plague as well. Hand we draw into is fine. We're just going to Wild Ride. Actually, sorry, we have Agility, so what we should do is Bare Fangs. We could Bare Fangs pitching our blue. Keeping either of these 2 reds is great. We could also Pack Hunt, intimidate a card out of Arakni's hand, then Bare Fangs. But I think that opening with the Bare Fangs is better. If we draw a blue, then we get to Claw 2 for 6. I don't love this plan. I think Bare Fangs is a much better card to use with Agility. In fact, we did have that blue on top of our deck. So we are pushing 15 damage this turn, but there's a chance that we could have pushed 18. So that's a value loss for sure. As far as this turn, playing around the defense reaction in Arsenal is fine. We do have our Tunic up, so we can discard our Agile windup to give the Claw go again, then use our Tunic to play Clash of Agility. Seeing that this was a sync blow in Arakni's Arsenal, we're gratified by not playing the Pulping there. And we do get to Arsenal the Pulping that will have Super Go again because of Agility. We're just counting Arakni's defense reactions here. We've seen 3 Fates, a number of Sinks and Frailty Traps. Hand we draw into is pretty solid. This Plunder the Poor for 2 is not going to get a card out of our hand. It is going to get our Bonebreaker though, for the sole reason that we don't want Arakni to Black Tech Whisperers. We can lead with the Clash of Agility to take advantage of our agility. Then follow up with a Pulping. Pulping from hand. We get hit by a Frailty Trap from Arsenal, so again, good call not leading with the Pulping. This Pulping is going to lead into probably Mandible Claw. We're losing value on our Claw or our Pulping from Arsenal either way, And by clawing, we keep Go Again in Arsenal, which is generally just an advisable thing to do. The hand we draw into is very interesting. Because we need to play around Shred and Cut to the Chase. So we are in an interesting position with this hand, which is we could block Leave No Witnesses with, let's call it Cast Bones and Scab Skins. And we cover up 4. We get to pulping from Arsenal, pitching our blue, which potentially lets us swing big as the follow-up, or we could Wild Ride from hand, pitching our blue, and then get a claw follow-up. And if we block for 6 here, if we used our Cast Bones and our Assault and Battery, then we just swing big for 9 and keep our pulping in Arsenal. But if we are playing around Shred or Cut to the Chase, we need to block for 7, so we'd have to use 2 cards from hand and Armor. But if we're blocking for 7, then what are we doing with our hand? We're either playing our Cast Bones and taking a huge intellect penalty, or we're playing our pulping that potentially discards the Cast Bones and doesn't get Go Again, guaranteed Go Again, and we're drawing a random card off the top of our deck, which is maybe very bad. So if we are going to block for 7, we would kind of rather just block for 9 in that case. Just put 3 cards in front of this Leave No Witnesses to play around the Shred or Cut to the Chase. And then on our turn, we just pitch Wild Ride, attack with Claw, keep our pulping. So I think if I'm making this call now, it's very aggressive to block for 9. It's very weird, but it's more that the alternative play with any of these 2 cards in our hand, if we get shredded, it's just kind of bad. I mean, maybe the correct line is just Cast Bones, Assault and Battery, Scab Skins, and then we swing big for 9. That could be right. I think if I am making this call now, I am doing that. I think it is Cast Bones, Assault and Battery, Scab Skins. And we are playing around Shred. So we get shredded here. We lose our Arsenal and the top of our deck, and yeah, our turn is just going to be Cast Bones. Yeah, it was a fine line. It worked out because we get a card in Arsenal, we get a Cast Bones. We had it set up so that the Shred would not seriously impact our turn. But I think we block for 7 there and just return 9. It's a much better turn for us. I mean, this Cast Bones is going to work out for us. It hits. We have an incredible hand lined up with or without our Arsenal. But just returning 9 there and having a pulping is really strong. So I think that it worked out for us, and I remember playing this game and correctly anticipating, well, if this is Shred, and this is how it works out. My hand is kind of awkward if I don't get shredded or Cut to the Chase, but I think we should just block 7, play around it, and then get in for 9 with a swing big. So Command and Conquer for 6 is just a snap non-block, and the reason is we're going to pitch our blue, play our Bear Fangs. The Bear Fangs is going to come in for, I believe it's 14 with Go Again, and we're going to have 2 cards in hand, 3 even because we discard a Beast Within, and now we get to Mandible Claw Massacre. So the Wild Ride and Arsenal is great, but we're not going to protect it. We are just going to instead win the game. Massacre, Intimidate does nothing, but Arakni does not have the armor or the defense reaction in Arsenal to survive, so we do just win the game. Kind of sloppy play, honestly, on my part. Just thinking about that leave no witnesses and correctly anticipating what would happen, but I think just blocking incorrectly, really fixating on firing off that cast bones, but not thinking about how swing big for 9 and keeping a pulping in Arsenal is just better. The cast bones is great. It worked well with the bear fangs. We had a really banger of a turn, but we also could just hit Arakni for 9 and get cards out of their hand or put them to 1, or just things that I think would have been a lot better than the line I took. But outside of that, I think I played the game pretty well, especially for not really knowing what this hero does. And in fact, I think being rewarded for it, they did seem to be on a bit of a fatigue plan. Mask of Perdition really lends itself to that sort of strategy, and played really well around it. I think just outvaluing them pretty significantly and filling our deck with enough cards that we are not going to get fatigued by the time we end the game. I mean, we can back up just a bit here and see, all right, we only had 14 cards left in our deck to Arakni's 20, but we're on turn 13 and life totals are low enough that we still could have gotten there with these last 14 cards in deck. So I think that did work out pretty well for us, and evidenced by the win. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to take that like button to Pound Town. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you have not already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube. It's free. It helps me out. But no matter what you do, I will catch you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.